Okay, last cargram for a while, promise. But I was just in conversation, doing a bit of work, and this kind of came up, and I thought it might be helpful. I got the tap, actually. This is helpful, share it. Someone will catch it somewhere, and it'll help them. So here we are. You can really overthink things. It's as easy or as hard as you think it is. So sometimes doing something is as easy as saying it. And, as easy as that, it's done. You just do it. Just like you said it, you can do it. So it's only as hard as you make it to some degree. And so if you understand the way something is put together or the way it has layered itself upon you or inside you, you can visualize the steps to work it back, or you can visualize back to the seed point or the kernel to work it out. What am I even talking about? There are thought forms here, like beings, that are parasitic, that have no real energy of their own. They need us to animate them. They need us to think about them. If we stop thinking about them, they vanish. This is why people were unmentionable. This is why people's names were removed. You would be put to death for mentioning the king or the ruler that had been replaced, because that is the death of all deaths, is to not be remembered. I mean, that's why you go to people's gravesides, your ancestors. That's why you say prayers about them. Remembering them is honoring them. And it keeps a part of them alive for you to be able to tap into, to access, quote unquote, them. So there are things here that operate. I mean, there are things here. Everything operates through us, basically. Even a lot of the stuff that you see outside you is actually just a reflection of what's inside you, operating through you. That sounds really human-centric, anthrocentric. It kind of is. It's just kind of how it works. We're not. That's where I'm at. I'm not going to beef about it much with anyone, because it's a view, and other people's views might be totally different. But we're not like animals. We're not like spirits. We're not like plants. We're not like anything. I believe it's one of the books, I think it's in the Bible, that says blah, 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 but man has no place to rest his head. Something about the bird has the nest, the beast has the cave, the whatever. Man has no place to rest his head. Anthro, whatever you want to call us. I mean, you get in trouble saying man. Man means male and female. I'm talking about both. Let's not even get into that. We're not like everything else in here. We're not like anything else in here. Let's just leave it at that. If you can even imagine that, then you'll be able to see where I'm coming from. You don't need to believe it. Just put yourself in that position to view what I'm about to say, and it might make a bit more sense. And then you can come back from it anytime you want. It's just a position. Positions change all the time. There are beings here that only can exist through us and use us all the time. And in all this talk of clones and bots and AIs and stuff, they use us by cloning themselves, in a sense. They don't just jump from that person to you, or from the mother to the child, or they can jump in between Yeah, but they need those node points. How do you get the node point that's in person A into person B? They clone themselves across. And then what gets sent out from A and lands in B becomes slightly different because it's being fed by a slightly different energy. So it's like, it's the same being. It's almost like a root structure, but you can't see the connection in between the two, almost. Another really good way of describing it is we are the rootstock and they are the fruit trees grafted onto the rootstock. They get grafted. They don't belong on the rootstock. The rootstock is wild and natural. Fruit trees are clones. They are grafted on. Banana trees are suckers, also clones. They just come up. It's the same plant throwing up another arm. The banana grower knocks the sucker off, knocks the arm off, goes and replants it where a banana stool has just died and they need a new one. That's why when one plant gets the disease, all the plants get the disease, because they all have the same immune system because they're clones. Makes your farming system really, really, really fragile, and your parasite system. Rootstock can take only so much. If you hit something that will knock out the parasite, but maybe damage the rootstock, but maybe not, who knows? The rootstock is many and varied. You can take out a lot of parasites or a lot of fruit trees or a lot of banana stools. They don't have a rootstock. That's different, but you know what I mean. You can knock out a lot of clones with one package and the rootstock will be undamaged because the rootstock is brutal. That is like, you can't kill that. It's very, very hard. Fruit tree will die. The rootstock will start shooting out from under the graft. So these things, they work like that, but they spore like fungi. That's the best way of imagining it, is you can't see the spore that gets kicked from person A into person B. But once that node is in there, then you've got that voice inside your head, that gut in your parasite, the gut in your stomach, the parasite, right? And they're kind of the same because they've come from the same spore. They've cloned themselves, but they're going to have a different flavor because a fruit tree in my garden won't taste the same as a fruit tree, even on the same rootstock, in someone's garden over the other side of town. Different soil, different microclimate, yeah, different flavor. But it is a clone, like it is a ridgy-dig, in absolute terms, it is a clone. I have no interest in the clones. None. Been down that path, done all that stuff. They're really easy to knock out. Once you get your head around it, and I'm not saying you need to believe what I'm saying or change your mind about what I'm saying or even go down that path at all. All you need to do is sit in that chair and look at what I've said from that position, and once you have, you'll have a different understanding of something that you know about, but you might not even know you know about. And once you can do that, it can be fantasy. You don't even have to believe it, but they're really easy to knock out. These things aren't hard. They're not. They're invasive, they're intrusive, they're destructive, but they're not hardy. They're not rootstock. They're the fruit tree on top. They're not hardy at all. I've got no interest in them. No interest in the clone. What I'm interested in is the gardener, the grafter. These things aren't self-propelled to a certain extent. There's something else behind them. There's an energy behind these clones. There's a cloner, there's a grafter, there's a gardener. And you are the garden bed, you are the soil, you are the rootstock. And if you're not tending your garden Another gardener will use your soil, not may use your soil, not might use your soil, will use your soil, full stop. Now, we're at the end of something here. We're at the end of either the game or at the end of a big cycle in the game. So I'm really only communicating this because this is going to be coming up and you're going to see it in many different ways. And if my language doesn't catch you, hopefully someone else's language does, and you'll pick it somewhere, because it's all going to happen anyway. So it's either going to happen really easily, this is going to morph into the next thing, or really quite a crunchy way, quite difficultly. The more you can understand what's going on and therefore let go of it, the easier it will be. If you don't understand it, you'll hold on to it, you'll worry it, you'll turn it over and try to work it out, and it'll just be harder. So if you can get more of an understanding, you'll be able to just go, oh, I know what that is, drop it. Just deal with it. Done. You don't have to worry it like a dog with a bone. The clones aren't special, and they're not tricky, and they're not tough. They're annoying and they're destructive, but it's the gardeners, the cloners, the ones that are behind that, organizing soil for the next grafting, setting up what their next line of rootstock's going to be for their next special variety. If you're interested in getting to the bottom of stuff, that's the door to push on. That's where you'll get the most answers. That's where you'll get the most traction. Otherwise, sit back and enjoy the ride, and know what you're looking at, know what you're dealing with. It is really, really simple. The world around us, the realm, the whatever, it shows us. It's just reflecting back what's already going on. So it's not that tricky. All right.